Coming in at number 10, we have impulsive behavior. Now, just because your spouse wants to go on a nice trip somewhere without really thinking it through doesn't mean that they're going to try and kill you or that they're a basket case. Just check to see if they pack a shovel and some rubber gloves in their suitcase. But psychopaths will tend to do things without thinking about the consequences because they have trouble feeling any sort of empathy towards people. So if the person you're dating did something super out of character that hurts someone else and only feels bad once they realize that everyone else is shocked and appalled, then you might have to watch out. Now, if this is their normal behavior, then what on earth are you doing with this person? You deserve better and you should move on.
In our 9th spot today, we have Ethan Hunsaker. In 2020, a man named Ethan Hunsaker called the cops telling them that he had killed someone inside of his home. His victim being his Tinder date, Ashlyn Black. When officers arrived at his home, they found Ashlyn on the floor with multiple stab wounds to her torso. According to Ethan, the two met up at a bar before returning to his house. The two were cuddling on his couch when he attacked and choked her before stabbing her. Later, Ethan pled guilty to his crimes but argued that he was mentally ill. Now, stories like this remind me just how cold and cruel the world can be. If you're using a dating app, please be smart and safe, share your location with your friends, meet in public and in broad daylight. In our 8th spot today, we have the Tinder swindler. This guy is all the talks lately. After the documentary on him, the Tinder swindler went viral on Netflix. The man in mention is Simon Hyatt. For years, this man pretended to be a wealthy man living under different names. He then would trick his Tinder dates into sending him large amounts of money. Between 2017 to 2019, it said that he conned a total of $10 million out of his victims across Europe. In 2019, he pretended to be the son of a Russian-Israeli diamond mogul and went by the name Simon Leviev. When he matched with someone on Tinder, he would take them out on an extraordinary first date, so they were like, damn, he's got money, I could get used to this. And then when he wins the girl's trust, he starts his plan, basically begging the girls to send him money, saying people are after him and he's been attacked and needs money, my enemies. If you guys seen the documentary, then you know. He even sends them fake invoices so they think that he's transferring the money back to them, when in reality, he wasn't. Like I said, he stole millions from these girls and he pretty much got away with it all. It's disgusting. Now, this video is not sponsored, but I highly recommend you check out the documentary. In our 2nd spot today, we have Sydney Loof. This case has always been one that has incredibly saddened me. In 2017, a Nebraska woman named Sydney Loof decided to meet up with her Tinder match, Audrey, for a second time. She was very excited for their second date, but little did she know that Audrey wasn't who she said she was, and she had a very sick plan. She was actually a girl named Bailey Boswell. On November 15th, on their second date, Bailey brought her boyfriend along. Bailey then convinced Sydney to participate in some acts with the two. This led to them playing a game in which Sydney was choked to death. A while later, police found Sydney. Her body had been cut up into 14 pieces and was placed in garbage bags and left in ditches along country roads in southeastern Nebraska. My heart literally goes out to Sydney's family. What a terrible, terrible tragedy. In our 6th spot, we have Can't Take Rejection. In 2018, a Canadian woman named Julia came forward showing some very disgusting DMs from a man she saw on Tinder but swiped left on. Clearly, he couldn't take no for an answer because he later found her on Instagram and started harassing her. The man proceeded to say things like, "You have no reason to say no, you're on a dating site." He also said, "But instead of a real man, you're going to choose some F-boy child." Now, Julia replied, asking him to leave her alone, but that didn't stop him. He continued on, saying that if they met in person, she would have loved him, and that she made a big mistake. His final message was, and I quote, "Why are you even alive? What's the point if you're just going to spread misery and negativity? What a waste." Then Julia blocked him and reported his Instagram account. Meanwhile, he was the one spreading misery and negativity. And all this because he couldn't accept a woman rejecting him. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with The Thief. A couple of years ago, this guy picked up his Tinder date and arranged to go to a motel to simply just hook up. But after they got to the room, the girl realized that she forgot her purse. She then asked him if it was okay for her to go back and grab it quickly. She then persuaded her date to give him his car keys so that she could go back to her house and grab her purse. Foolishly, he let her do this, and she never returned back to the room. His date literally stole his car. But a week later, the police did find his car and returned it to him. The girl was never caught though. In our fourth spot today, we have the really bad timing. So this girl revealed that she was on her third date with a guy that she met on Tinder and everything was going well. But she knew that he wasn't the one for her, so towards the end of the date, she was gonna thank him, but tell him that. However, as she was preparing to do so, he got a call from his mom. She had told him that his grandmother had passed away. So instead of being like, hey, you're a great guy, but you're not for me, she got stuck sitting in his car with him as he wept on the phone with his mom. I can't imagine how awkward that must have been for her. Like, she's just trying to go home and this man's bawling his eyes out. This is literally the definition of bad timing. In our third spot today, we have the pigsty. Ladies and gentlemen, okay, if you are going to have your date over at your place, at least make sure that it's clean, okay? This next woman revealed the grossest date that she's ever been on. So she went over to her Tinder date's house and it was extremely disgusting, okay? His bed sheets were stained with blood and other stuff. Ugh. His bathroom sink was covered in hair, and there were 4 hair-filled razors sitting on top of his toothpaste and toothbrush. Oh no. There was also empty beer cans everywhere. Not making a good first impression. Not only that, but her date surprise turn was like, oh yeah, by the way, I have a kid. This woman immediately left after witnessing the state of his place and after being lied to about having a kid. In our second spot today, we have the strangler. So remember how I just finished saying like go on a date in broad daylight? Well, this next girl did the complete opposite. She decided to go on a walk with her Tinder date in the dark. While on the walk, she got a little uncomfortable and joked around being like, haha, are you gonna kill me? And that's when the guy stopped and put his arms around her neck and started strangling her. After almost passing out, he took his hands off of her and told her that he was just kidding. Okay, that is one sick, messed up joke. And in our number 1 spot today, we have Daniel Drayton. Daniel Drayton is an alleged serial killer that would use Tinder to go meet his victims. Instead of having to go out and hunt for people to kill, he would just use Tinder and have the women come to him. In July of 2018, he was suspected of killing a woman named Samantha Stewart after matching with her on Tinder. When police found him, he was in a Los Angeles hotel room with a woman in his room that he was holding captive. Later, he was linked to a number of Tinder assaults and murders. In the end, he confessed to killing more than 6 of his dates.
Starting us off at number 10 is The Mob Daughter. This one blew my goddamn mind, so I know it's gonna blow yours as well. Like so many plot twists, it could seriously be a straight-to-TV movie for sure. Now this one comes from Omar Besser, who said one summer he was walking through a club when a girl that looked like his ex grabbed him by the neck of his shirt and said, let's have a drink. Surprised by her feistiness, they went to the bar, she bought all the drinks herself, and she continued just downing them. She kept talking about disjointed topics, and Omar kind of stayed because of how similar she looked to his ex and how uncanny the whole thing was. She mentioned she had a lot of money and got drunker and started talking about how she missed her dad because he had been shot in an accident recently. Now the red flags started popping up, and so Omar was a bit on edge but could also tell she was just vulnerable and drunk and put her in a cab home. Before he closed the door though, she asked for another date the next day and he reluctantly agreed. They met at the beach the next day. She was very punctual and sober and told him a lot more about her life. And mind you, this was before 4G internet was in Argentina, so you know, not much he could do with the information. But when he got home, he googled some of the things she said, and turns out her dad was killed over a drug-related matter because he was a rising star in the cocaine trade in Argentina. It wasn't even a hitman who did it, it was a partner in crime. So at least now he knew where all her money came from. In the articles he was reading, it said the drug money hadn't been properly distributed and that the daughter could be the next target. They had a date set for the next day, but he never heard from her again.
Coming in at number 9 with overly charismatic. Have you ever wanted to walk up to someone and spark up a conversation? Maybe you think they're cute or you hear they have some of the same interests as you, and then you go up to them and you want to talk to them, but you're very nervous. Well, this is normal behavior because it can be very intimidating to approach someone, but a psychopath won't have this same fear. They don't see or care about the consequences, and they can find it super easy to talk to people because a social interaction does not intimidate them, because for a psychopath there's no social ramifications for this. The only risk is not manipulating the person. They don't care about if the person dislikes them. Also, a psychopath might spend a good chunk of time watching you from afar or even studying you beforehand, maybe through social media. So this background knowledge on you and the lack of fear might make them seem like a Pied Piper for your heart, but they're really just a master manipulator. Coming in at number 8, we have emotionally detached. Are you dating someone who really doesn't like to talk about their feelings? And not in a way that's just like some guy being stubborn, but more in a way where it seems like they don't even have feelings to talk about. When you try to tell them about your feelings, does the same thing happen? Does it seem like they have no idea what you're trying to describe to them? Psychopaths often don't understand emotion. This will leave them in a state where they have to constantly fake feelings. A good way to tell this is through their friend group. Does it seem like they have deep, honest connections with anyone around them, or do they just have superficial, surface level relationships? Coming in at number 7, we have a massive ego. We can all get egotistical at times, it's just human nature. But for a psychopath, this will be to the point where their ego is out of control. They will constantly talk about how great they are, and they will be a massive narcissist. You should watch out for people who are constantly correcting other people even when it turns out they are often wrong. They might not be able to admit when they've made a mistake and will get angry if you try to correct them. Coming in at number 6, we have manipulative. This is probably what they do best. You know how throughout the day you probably think about how you want to eat lunch, maybe what movie you want to see on the weekend. Well, a psychopath is constantly thinking about how to take advantage of you. See how it can be easy to fall victim to someone like that when you're not looking for it? Because unless you have your guard up at all times, they'll probably get through. If you're with someone and they do something horrible, say steal from you or cheat on you, and they somehow find a way to twist it around and make it seem like it's your fault, then you might be dealing with someone who has a lot of problems and could be a psychopath. I think a lot of people out there could look back on previous relationships and put the pieces back together and be like, oh yeah, that person was crazy. A good way to tell whether or not you're dating someone who is manipulative is how they act around other people. Do they change the personalities around different groups and try to sway the public in their favor? It's time to get our psychopath inspection hats on. Coming in at number 5, we have compulsive liars. Something that psychopaths love is control. They want to know that they are dictating the whole situation and can force people to do what they want without other people knowing. They might do this by lying all the time. This is a tool they can use to manipulate you. They'll be lying to you so they can get what they want out of you. Or they might have a bigger plan in motion that you are completely unaware of, and they want to work you into said plan. But they also might lie about very trivial things, things that really make no sense and you would never think are lies. This also gives them the feeling of control over you, like they can trick you and get the upper hand. They might also say these trivial lies to see if you can easily be fooled. If you ever catch someone doing something like this, they might just be playing a little prank on you, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to start paying close attention to what they are doing. They might be up to something. Coming in at number 4, we have always breaking the law. I mean, who doesn't love a bad boy? It's one of the fundamental truths of the universe. Bad boys are hot as hell, and we all want to ride off into the sunset with them on the back of a motorcycle. Well, it turns out that this bad boy could also be insane and put your life at risk. Psychopaths have a tendency to break the law. This goes in line with them wanting to be in control all the time. Not only do they want to control, they don't want to feel like they can be controlled, so they see authority as a direct challenge to their power. It might seem like something small, maybe they always park in the disabled parking spot even though they don't need it, or maybe they get overly confrontational with any form of authority and try to outsmart them. This is because deep down they feel that they are smarter than everyone and that the law doesn't apply to them. They feel that they are above the rules that we have made because they are of a higher class of person. Coming in at number 3, we have they crave stimulation. Not in a gross way, you filthy animals. I'm talking about like TV and movies and people. It seems that psychopaths can never be satisfied by just sitting around and relaxing. They need to have an influx of information at all times. This is often because they can't calm their thoughts. They are always thinking and their brains don't have an off switch. This could also be because they don't like the feeling of anyone else getting ahead of them. Now there are a lot of other disorders that can stimulate the same kind of behavior, so just a craving for stimulation doesn't necessarily mean that the person is a psychopath. So don't just jump to conclusions. But we are quite a ways down the list so far, so basically you should be asking yourself, does the person I date do a lot of the things that this guy on YouTube has mentioned, because maybe it's time to find a new partner. Coming in number 2, we have promiscuity. Cue the song Promiscuous Girl by Nelly Furtado featuring Timbaland. Remember what Miss Furtado was like before she got linked up with Timbaland? She was all like singing about birds and she was kind of like this fun hippie Canadian girl, and then they made her super sexual, which was one of the best rebrand deals of all time? Well, let's get back on track. A psychopath will love to have multiple sexual partners, and this is for a lot of reasons that we have already covered, but let me put them into the context of sex. Every time a psychopath can convince someone to have sex with them, they will see this as a certain level of control. They have now seduced this person, thus making them feel that they have some sort of intellectual advantage over them. Another facet of this is that a psychopath has trouble making deep connections with people, so they can find it hard to have a long-term relationship. When they have a bunch of people to have sex with, they can float at the surface level of connection and never need to dig for anything deeper. And finally, a psychopath usually wants something from a person, so the more people they have engaged, the more people they can get stuff from. And coming in at number 1, we have they will never apologize. I mean, let's be honest, I know a lot of people like this. I bet a lot of people watching this video can find it very hard to say sorry, but they still do it. I mean, I'm Canadian. It's practically in our DNA to say sorry every time we make eye contact with a living creature. But for a psychopath, this is really the cherry on the sundae, because for them, this is more than just about apologizing. This is also admitting that they were wrong. So if they apologize, they won't feel superior to the other people around them, which is a major part of their personality. It's harder to lie all the time if you apologize, because they might feel that it's harder to convince people of their lies. If they apologize, they will most likely take a hit on their massive ego, which their psyche will not be able to handle. And psychopaths usually perceive an apology as a sign of weakness in others, and they want to control and feel charismatic, which they feel they might lose with a simple "I'm sorry."
Starting off this countdown, we have the nose piercing. This story was submitted by a woman named Coyote A Party. So after talking to this guy on Tinder for a couple of weeks, Coyote decided to meet up with him. For their first date, they went on a simple walk through a park. She made sure it was during broad daylight, so nothing sketchy really happens. While out on their walk, she told her date that she was thinking of getting her nose pierced, but she was scared that it was going to hurt. That's when this guy whips out a safety pin from his pocket and shoves it into one of his nostrils. He then proceeds to say, "See? No big deal," as blood starts pouring down his face. Needless to say, he didn't get a second date. But also, what was he thinking? That self-mutilation would impress the girl? Dude, no.
Coming in at number 9 is the knife. This one made me laugh because of the way it was written and how crazy it was. Like, I didn't know girls could actually be this psycho. Clearly I was wrong. Producer Chris, what do you think? Psycho? Probs. Now this one was shared by Reddit user Eternal New Guy, who said his friend set him up on a blind date with this girl they kept claiming he'd love. They went for dinner, and already at the beginning she was weird and just kept getting weirder. She was already possessive and clingy, and they had literally just met. He excused himself to the bathroom because he was a few beers down and had to pee, and a few seconds later she ran after him and stabbed him in the arm with her knife, because apparently he was gonna run off and make out with the cute waitress. Conclusion: he got 3 stitches in the arm and she got an extensive psych hold. Say less. At number 8 we have the gift card. This was from Miss Martha Ann on Reddit, and it's short and sweet. Well, not sweet, but it is short. She shared that the guy picked her up in a Camaro, and on the way to wherever they were going on a date, someone cut them off in traffic. This is where everything starts going downhill, people. As soon as they were cut off, this guy pulled out his gun from the glove box and put it on the console, telling the girl he might need it. He then starts driving like a maniac, all fast and furious, trying to cut off the guy who cut them off. Once he had achieved that, thank God, he turned to Martha and asked if she wanted to go to Fazoli's or Applebee's, because apparently he had a gift card for both. Firstly, I am so sorry, Martha Ann, that you had to go through that, and that this guy was taking you to a restaurant on a gift card basis and that he had a gun. I'm so sorry. Filling at number 7 slot is the Hitman. This one's from Reddit, said Kitten Biscuits, and now I'm really wondering why people keep ending up on dates with literal mafia people or hitmen. Like, what's going on? She shared that her co-worker asked her for a drink after work, and she decided to go because he had always been nice to her. They go to a bar, and after having 1 too many drinks, he starts telling her how he used to be a hitman for a crime organization in Mexico. He went into excruciating detail about the price of certain things, and the stories got more and more graphic and worse. She wasn't believing him, but decided to just humor him till the date was over. He went quiet for a minute before looking her dead in the eye, saying he'd cut off one of her hands for $5,000 if someone paid him to do it. I would laugh nervously out of that one myself, or cry, or counteroffer. Anyway, she started believing him at that point and started feeling nauseous and told him she had to go home. There was obviously no second date, but she was nice to him at work until he got fired for stealing from the cashier, and that was the end of that. Now at number 6 is the revenge story. This girl who shared this story said she matched with this guy on Tinder and it was going well, but she didn't want to go on a date with him for some reason. She cancelled on him twice, but eventually did agree to go for drinks. When she got there, he was there dressed all nice with a drink ready for her, and it was cute. Okay, cute, yes, but never accept a drink when someone gets it for you and you're not there. He could have spiked it, he could have drugged it, God knows. Another PSA from Mommy Eamon. Anyway, they started talking and he mentioned that he hated his house and that he had to move ASAP Rocky. She asked him why he hated it and he basically spilled the tea and told her one of his roommates kept flirting with his ex, and that was really getting to him. So he went to a butcher's and took 2 cut off pig heads and put them in that housemate's bed, which she found shortly after. The girl was so afraid she was on a date with someone from the mafia or something that she was scared to leave. The night eventually ended and he texted her for another date and she politely declined, and thankfully he didn't mail her any pig heads, but I mean he could have. Coming in at number 5 is the cat. This one's from Redditor Karen4C13C7812, and it really made me laugh, and I feel like if I was her, I would have laughed in the moment too, but also been like, are you gonna kill me? She shared that she matched with this dude on some dating app or the other, and they went on a movie date. Excited, she was waiting outside the cinema for him, and when he came, she said hi, and he did not. He just meowed. Weird flex, but okay, maybe it was a joke. I don't know, an inside joke with himself maybe. But when they got inside, she tried making conversation with him, but he just continued to meow and make zero eye contact whatsoever. The movie ended and the meowing continued, and so did the zero eye contact. Either way, they obviously never went out again, and she tried to give him the benefit of the doubt of how maybe he was trying to be cute or endearing, but what the hell? Who meows through an entire first date? Like, I wouldn't even have sat through the movie with him. What if he was a psycho serial killer or had other weird meowing friends already planted in the cinema ready for me? Like, I like cats, but even for me this is weird. And I'm the ultimate cat lady. I am. Maybe that's why I've never been on a date. At number 4 is Under the Table. This one comes from Reddit user ExitOsa, who said she was talking to this guy on Tinder for like a month, and turns out she had briefly met him before when they were way younger, so at least he wasn't a total strange creep. They ended up going on a date, and when they got to the restaurant, the user got out of the car to see her date was already walking towards the restaurant. Strike one, but okay, we'll just sweep it under the rug, it's fine. Then, as soon as they sat down, he puts his hands up her skirt and starts touching her genitalia, and she was like, whoa, what the hell? Is this date literally me sitting down and getting sexually assaulted? Is this what this date is? She couldn't even leave because the place was 45 minutes away and he had driven them there. So she stayed, waited it out, and never texted him ever again, which is just, this is disgusting. Who the hell does that? Filling on number 3 slot is The Confusion. Now this one's from Redditor Just Here for Kata Ham, who shared when she was about 18 or 19, she went on a date that was terrible. The guy had asked her out for pizza and had taken a 4-hour train into her hometown just to see it through. He showed up wearing distressed jeans with patches of towel sewed on, and she knew him from class, so she knew he didn't wear this stuff normally. As they sit to eat, he suddenly pulls out a clown nose and wears it and just continues to eat like nothing even happened. She asks if there's any explanation with that, and he replied saying he was trying out his new nose, and then starts jazz scatting 2 minutes later, and that continued for 2 hours, but the girl didn't want to leave since he had come from so far just to see her. By the end of it, she drives him back to the station, and instead of getting out of the car, he leans in and instead of kissing her, rubs his face on hers like a cat and then licks her face and then leaves. I don't know, was it the clown nose that was weird? Was it the jazz scatting? Was it the licking of the face? I'm just confused on which part was the worst. Now at number 2 is the religious epiphany, and now I don't have a lot of backstory to this one, so we're just gonna have to take it as it is, and it was shared by writer Soraya Shamali in a tweet. She said she went on a date with a guy who was telling her about this recent religious epiphany, which prompted him to try and drown his then girlfriend. Excuse me? Why would you say that to someone you're on a date with? And are you a sociopath, yes or no? He then insisted that it was unsafe for Soraya to walk home alone, as if she was gonna just turn around and be like, why don't you drop me home, you girlfriend drowner? I hope his ex survived this, I really do, and that he had a new religious epiphany that didn't prompt him to kill women, because threw up in my mouth a little bit, not gonna lie. And finally, at number 1 is the dodged bullet. This one just angered me so much when I read it, I can't even begin to tell you. It was shared by Redditor Angry Baboon, and she shared that she met this dude on Tinder and he asked her out for a breakfast date on a Saturday. Now when she got to the meeting point, she realized he had meant breakfast at his place, whereas she assumed it would be at some cafe. The meeting point was right in front of his house, and she was quite annoyed that he tricked her and told him she wasn't going inside on a first date, that she didn't even know him, and that they can either go to a cafe or she can just leave. He then gave her a proper boy soliloquy saying, "I've made pancakes for us, how bad can it be? We aren't gonna have sex unless you want to. Don't be such a baby. Many girls have been to my place and none of them have regretted coming with me. I can tell you haven't had sex in a while. I can see it in your eyes. Don't miss this opportunity." Like the nerve of anyone to say that. She laughed at him and started walking away, and he even grabbed her and tried to forcefully kiss her, and she pushed him off, telling him he was a creep and to stay away from her. A few days later, he sent her a picture of his penis on some girl's face who was blindfolded. Honestly, I would have sent it straight to the police. That is shocking.